Is this the weirdest bowling ball in production right now? The Storm Next Factor was just announced, and we have a lot of weird things to open up about this bowling ball. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get into the objective facts of the ball to start, check out what it is, core and cover, where it looks like it's going to fit, and even talk about a ball review that already went live, which might not have been supposed to, but that's not our problem. But then after that, we're going to talk about this a little subjective piece about it, why we had another announcement only 2 days after the Phase 2 Pearl was announced, and we're going to get one on an accelerated timeline. But if you don't want to hear the subjective piece, make sure to listen to this first half. If you only want to hear me rant, make sure to listen to the second half. Remember, if you enjoy these bowling ball previews, make sure to drop a subscription and a like. It's the best way to help support the channel. But let's talk about the Storm Next Factor. The Next Factor is a kind of remake, kind of not, of the original Storm X Factor. That is a bowling ball that released over 20 years ago. It is one that a lot of Storm fans in the early 2000s absolutely adored. Now, this one comes with a bit of a twist. Of course, the cover stock is radically different. No cover stock made 20 years ago would really hook much anymore, but the core also is not the same. They did re-engineer it and alter it quite a bit. So we're going to start from the bottom here. We're going to get into the core quick first about this ball. This is an asymmetrical pearl ball, by the way. We'll talk about the cover being R3S pearl in just a second. But looking at the core, this one comes in on 15 pounds and a 2.56 RG. Insanely high RG, by the way, the highest asymmetrical RG in the game. One of the top 5 highest RGs in bowling, period, excluding entry-level balls. So this thing has insanely high RG. Remember, the RG of a ball, the higher it is, the longer the ball is going to go down the lane. The later the ball is going to hook compared to something with a low RG. 051 differential, pretty much middle of the road, nothing too crazy there. 017 intermediate diff, again, very middle of the road on that guy. But I do have the original Storm X Factor here from bowl.com. Love these guys. But the original core in 15 pounds, this was back in, I think they had a date, January 2002, which is crazy. It was a 2.53 RG, an 058 differential, and 013 intermediate diff. Are the numbers remotely close? Not really. The RG is much higher now. The differential is much, much lower, and the intermediate diff is a little bit higher. So they did pretty much re-engineer the core of this bowling ball. So it is based on the same shape as the original X Factor, but it is not the same core by any means. So don't expect the most similar things between your old X Factor from 23 years ago and the new Next Factor. But let's go into the marketing mumbo jumbo quick. The Next Factor is one of Storm's most iconic lines. This is now going to be based on their innovation team. So this is the first ball from Hank Boomershine's new innovation team at Storm. So this is their new baby, their new like push into the next evolution of bowling balls. We'll see how this one ends up looking and doing. It's wonky enough where it kind of fits. But new iteration, high flare heritage with the advancements bowling expects from the strongest modern releases. Clean through the front, dynamic at the breakpoint, relentless through the pins. Ah, we love that phrase in bowling. Every ball has that. Built when you want to open your angles up. Revival with a purpose. All right, we'll look into these specs in just a second, compare it to a couple other big asymmetrical bowling balls from Storm. But if we look, it has R3S Pearl. Now, R3S Pearl is an evolution of R2S. What we have here is a list of bowling balls that have used R3S in the past, and Storm has not had a good track record of this cover stock in the States. The Revenant had it, if you guys remember that ball. No one liked that ball that much. It was very smooth and slow. The Spectre, which got banned, people didn't really have a chance to throw it because it got banned so quick. Going down a little bit, we have the Storm Intense. This ball was pretty hated among people. This was early in my time in bowling, but I remember hearing guys at League that really did not like this ball. Before that, we get down to the Snap Lock, which was I think it was pretty well liked. It seems like, again, that's close to before my time, but before that, that is it. Those are the only balls with R3S that we've ever had. So this one will have R3S. The cover stock strength falls between R2S and TX16. So it is on that lower end of strength. So it's not an upper end NEX level strength or anything like that. This is going to be on that lower echelon. So it's going to be that really big asymmetrical core and a really, really clean cover stock to it. So they kind of get into a little bit about that rad TQ weight block, which is originally introduced as the X Factor. The modern revival preserves the core traits, high RG, high diff, conservative PSA, while utilizing updated internal materials for enhanced efficiency and stability. So they say they tried to remake it, but they really couldn't. Like perfectly one-to-one remake it. Rad TQ iconic motion now optimized for higher friction surfaces. This is something Storm has really focused on the last couple of releases, because this is like the 5th shiny bowling ball in a row from Storm, I believe. 5th or 6th shiny ball that they've released back to back to back. I believe it's like Ember onward I think we've only had fall and winter of shiny releases from Storm, which is kind of crazy. But they really push that. They need bowling balls that get further down lane before they want to hook. We talked about the core already. So while we look at some of these numbers, let's compare the next factor to something like the, let's go identity. Here we go. We're going to go identity versus next factor, because we're not really sure where this ball fits. Super weak cover, super strong core. It could fit medium sharp or strong and sharp. Either way, we've had a lot of releases in that range from Storm lately, but comparing it to the identity, which was generally deemed as like Storm's most angular bowling ball of the last couple of months, the stats are fairly similar. Now you see the oil volume is on the lower end of the next factor, and the pattern length is lower. So they're really thinking that the next factor is going to hook later than an identity. However, if we pull up the phase 2 Pearl, we're going to see that ball shape is much smoother. The pattern length is stronger. So it's like it's supposed to be even later than the phase 2 Pearl. Let's go on to the RST Hyperdrive. Apologies on the colors. They're a little bit different. Even this one, the RST Hyperdrive is seen to be stronger than the next factor. So it's like this next factor is supposed to fit like in the medium and medium sharp. However, Virtue Bowling Supply did post a ball review of this guy already, and it's stronger than what's advertised according to those guys. They were saying that it's actually stronger than a Combat, and it's stronger than an RST Hyperdrive Pearl, and stronger than a Rockstar Amped. So you're going to have to watch some ball reviews on this guy. It's going to be interesting to see where it ends up fitting between all of that. But let's go full screen on the next factor quick. Let's talk a little bit about it then. This ball is releasing for $200. This is the maximum price point from Storm. So it's going to be another middle strength release at a really high price point from them. A little unfortunate to see. It's always nice to see some of those more like budget friendly ones of like the 160 to 170, like the Gremlin. Unfortunately, this is going to get very close to that. So this ball might be eerily similar to a Gremlin. That's going to be an interesting comparison we see. But otherwise, this ball does release on 12/19. So it releases in 18 days, slightly shorter time frame than what Storm usually does for their releases. It's also a Monday, which is odd. So very interesting bowling ball here. Now, with that, we're going to end the objective portion of this video, because I want to talk about a few things of this ball. I want to start out by saying I will not be reviewing this ball, unfortunately. Storm did not send me this one. I don't know if I'm guessing the last few were temporary, but that's besides the point. You will unfortunately not be seeing a ball review from me for this guy. But let's talk about this one a little bit, because I want to be honest with you guys. This is an odd time to release a bowling ball. Storm did this last year with the Physics Blackout. The Physics Blackout was not well liked, and it was put on sale very, very quickly. Partially because of when it released, maybe because they were the only ones that released in December. That was a little odd. But we gave the Phase 2 Pearl 3 days total now to actually have the limelight before they're now pushing the next factor. So the Phase 2 Pearl released last Friday. Then 3 days later, we get the next factor. And it was a holiday weekend too, so a lot of people probably didn't go to their pro shop on Black Friday to purchase a Phase 2 Pearl. But now we have a next factor. So Brunswick has come out and said, we're shortening our marketing window to give our older bowling balls a little bit of breathing room to be able to promote those a little bit more, which is awesome. Storm has done the exact opposite here, which is a little unfortunate. They did the same thing with the Viking, which actually probably killed the Viking, which is unfortunate. That ball's good. However, nobody cares about it because before it was released, the Phase 2 Pearl got announced. And now, right as the Phase 2 Pearl got released, we have another next factor coming. And it's very interesting, especially because the next factor is going to kind of fit in the same range as that Phase 2 Pearl, especially if you're someone who only buys a handful of bowling balls per year. You don't need both of them. You don't need a Phase 2 Pearl, Rockstar Amped next factor. They all fit kind of that same part of the bag, just different ball reactions. The Viking, a little bit different, but still kind of in the same asymmetrical shiny zone. So it's very unfortunate to see that this next factor is coming out so quickly. I know that was actually a big gripe that Ron Hickland had of that the Phase 2 Pearl pretty much killed off the Viking. And we're kind of seeing the same thing here. So I really hope that doesn't affect the Phase 2 Pearl. That one's actually pretty decent. We haven't seen anything on this next factor yet. I'm guessing staffers and other influencers can release their ball reviews in 2 days is usually how Storm does it. But like I said, Virtue Bowling Supply does have videos of this ball, and it seems super, super angular. Storm has wanted to go in the angular route for the last couple of months to try to take that throne back from Brunswick, because Brunswick became the more angular bowling ball company. So now Storm is trying to take it back with a lot of releases that are very, very quick off the spot. This one seems super quick off the spot. It'll be interesting to see if it's too quick off the spot, because that can be a problem that happens a lot. That happened with a lot of Brunswick balls like that Hater Pearl. It's not usable for a lot of people because it's so quick. I'm a little worried on this next factor as well. But overall, this is very odd. This is a very odd release. We are going to be getting it a week before Christmas. I don't know if this ball will do well based on nostalgia. That's probably going to be a big push on it, is if you have an X Factor. I've had a lot of people message me already saying, I had an X Factor. I loved that ball. I'm going to get this X Factor. So if you want it off nostalgia, absolutely. It's going to fit kind of in that medium sharp, strong sharp range. But otherwise, I really hope this doesn't kill off the Phase 2 Pearl too early. That would be really unfortunate, because that's a ball that could be a staple in the Storm lineup for a long time, but they're already going to kind of kill off the hype of that ball that it could be getting in the next couple of weeks to just already point all steam ahead towards the next factor. So I'm very curious to see how it does. I wanted to be honest with you guys on where this ball, how it looks right now to the public. I'd be curious to hear the public's reaction towards this one. If you guys have any thoughts on this, please let me know down below in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think about this release coming so quickly, and if you're excited about this next factor, or if there's just too many bowling balls that are getting announced right now and getting released. So let me know down below in the comments. Otherwise, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. Best way to help support the channel, best way to help support getting these videos up as soon as humanly possible. I want to thank you guys. I will be excited to see you on the next one.